Hi, everyone, and welcome to this session. My name is Hector. I'm the head of the corporate department here at Lexidy, and today we're joined with my colleague Madeline Catwell, our senior corporate lawyer and the corporate team lead.
Hello.
And over the next 20 to 30 minutes, we'll walk you through everything you need to know to confidently launch your business in Spain as an international funders, from the types of companies that you can create, to startup incentives, the legal steps, um, focusing on how we can support you along the way. Well, just so you are aware, we've helped hundreds of founders take the first step in Spain, and we're happy to have achieved a process that is simpler, faster, and more aligned with the reality of remote first global startups. No, and Madeline, if you want to, you can just click on. I assume you already know who we are, Lexidy, and probably you know that Lexidy is not a traditional law firm. We are a modern digital first firm built for specifically for international funders, and our team is multilingual, globally minded, and focused on cross-border business. We understand that what it's like to build a company abroad, and our goal is to make it frictionless, right? So why do our clients choose us? Because we combine deep legal expertise with practical business guidance. We move fast. We work transparently from our fees to how we handle everything from start to scale, and all with a client first mindset. So why Spain, right? Why so many international funds? Well, as just so we meet each other, myself, Hector, and Madeline, you will receive at the end of the session our links, our LinkedIn profile, and also a link so you can book us in for a free consultation. But basically, why Spain? And that's a summary of the topics we will be digging in throughout our session. Hopefully, it's 20 to 30 minutes, and then we'll have some room for questions. So why Spain? So why are so many international funders choosing Spain? And I love to answer that question because Spain has gone through a real transformation in the last 5 years. It now has more than 10,000 active startups, and it's ranked among the fastest growing ecosystems in Europe. And it's been maybe it's the startup ecosystem is 10 to 15 years, and yet it's rapidly growing. There's a strong government support, generous tax incentives, and a new wave of international talent. Founders can access the startup visas, the digital nomad visas, and even public funding through entities like INISA. And of course, you get all of this with the added bonus of great weather, work-life cities like Barcelona, Madrid, and an excellent quality of life. And also for international funders, we get asked a lot for the Beckham law and the special tax regime. So that makes you well, it's a bit smoother the move into Spain and to get your company off the ground.
So I'll just continue here to speak a bit about different types of companies that you can create in Spain or how you can operate a business in Spain. So first of all, you have the freelancer figure, which is autónomo in Spain. This is the fastest way to get started in Spain with your business. It's very simple. It's low costs involved. And also the ongoing obligations are more straightforward to handle. However, the income is taxed personally, so personal income tax, not corporate income tax. And also the protection on the freelancer's assets is not limited. So your whole assets could be on the line per se in the event of any legal issue. And then this sort of structure is more suitable for solo professionals who are just starting, trying to figure their way around the Spanish system or trying to see if their business venture is something that's going to work. Then the SL, Sociedad Limitada, is the limited liability company in Spain. It's ideal for startups and small and medium enterprises, and the setup structure is a bit more complex than the freelancer. It requires registration in commercial registry, going through a notary public in Spain, and a few additional. So the actual process is more complex and there are more costs involved. However, the shareholders' assets are limited to the company's the shareholding in the company, so the share capital. So that's the one of the huge benefits of a limited liability company. And also you pay corporate income tax in this case and not personal income tax. Lastly, we also have the branch or subsidiary structure, which is basically when there's a foreign entity that's involved, whether as an SL, so for example, a subsidiary would be a foreign entity or another entity as the main shareholder of a Spanish SL. So it's still the limited liability structure, but just with a foreign entity or another entity backing it. And a branch is more of an extension of that foreign entity in Spain. So that's the difference. A subsidiary, you still have that protection over assets that you do with the SL. However, with the branch, the foreign company is liable for the branch in Spain and any legal issues. And regarding an additional benefit that both structures have is that they benefit from being in a group of companies, and that's something that investors, also banks, maybe service providers or suppliers like to see when it comes to financial backing and different things like this. Regarding the process to set up a limited liability company, it's relatively straightforward. As always in Spain, there are certain steps that involve quite a bit of bureaucracy, but when you have a legal advisor in Spain who's accustomed to them, then it's a lot more straightforward to navigate. First of all, we would request the company name certificate in Spain. This is a fast process, and we submit to the Central Commercial Registry 5 names in order of preference to see which one is available, and they will grant the first one that's available. Then we also need to concentrate heavily on getting the NIE numbers, which are identification numbers for foreigners in Spain, and NIF numbers when there's another company involved. So a foreign company involved, we get an NIF number. The NIE number, we can get them in different ways. Basically, it is granted by the immigration police in Spain, but there are different ways you can go around it. You can get it in Spain, or you can also get it at the consulate or embassy of your place of residence. For the NIF number, it is obtained via a personal appointment at the Spanish tax agency in Spain. So any office, but it does need to be obtained in person. Next, we would draft the documents that would be necessary. So mainly the bylaws, which are the sort of rules of the company and how it's supposed to operate. And also we would prepare the deed of incorporation, which would contain information on who the directors are, who the shareholders are, different things like that, and then also the bylaws. So once we have all of this, we sign the deed before the notary and we send it to the commercial registry for registration. Generally, this step, they can take up to 15 working days to register the company. In practice, they can take longer. They don't normally take a lot longer, but they don't normally use less than 15 working days. So this also depends on the commercial registry. For example, Barcelona tends to be a bit slower. Madrid tends to be a bit faster. It also depends on their workload. So it depends. Once the company is incorporated with the commercial registry, we obtain the tax ID, so the NIF number or TIF, and we also open the bank account and obtain the digital certificate. So the digital certificate is sort of an electronic signature, for the company in Spain, and it is used for all sorts of communications with the authorities, so mainly with tax agency and social security. So with that digital certificate, we can notify the tax agency of the start of activity. And that form that we file, which is 036, will also be sent to the bank as they request this as part of the opening process. So this is more or less the process to incorporate a company in Spain. The steps, as I mentioned, can require some bureaucracy, but if you have good assistance in Spain, someone who's accustomed to this, then it should be straightforward. Regarding the time frame, as I mentioned, the longest step is the filing with the commercial registry, so that's why we say it can take 6 to 8 weeks. Also, obtaining the NIE number can be a bit of a longer step because if it's obtained at consulate or embassy, there's no guarantee on their availability for appointments or how long it's going to take them to get the NIE certificate. However, generally it's between 6 and 8 weeks to have the process done. For documents required, as I mentioned, we need the NIEs for all directors and shareholders, and NIF when a shareholder or director is a foreign entity. Certificate of the company name, which will be provided in the deed as well. And then the bank account. So the bank account will be open for the capital deposit and all future operations. You don't need this before incorporation, but this will be part of the final step in order to start operations. The bylaws, which would be drafted by a lawyer and provided to the notary. The deed, which is provided by the notary along with the legal team, they draft it together. And the mercantile registration, which would be part of the final registered deed, and all tax registrations. So these are the main documents. From the shareholders and directors, basically what is needed is NIEs, passports, and if there's a foreign company involved, then what we call the company data document, which is a document from commercial registry of the company, of the country, sorry, of origin, with basic information on the company. For relocation matters, so depending on the goal behind the relocation, there are different options. In this case, we've prepared this table to make it a bit more visual, but we're gonna discuss slightly 4 types of visas: 2 that are targeted for business founders, and 2 that are targeted more towards employees, because a lot of the time there's a business owner wants to incorporate an entity in Spain, and straight away they have some professionals in mind who are from abroad, not EU citizens, and require sponsorship to be able to come and work in Spain. So we're also going to discuss those. The 2 options for business owners are the business activity visa and entrepreneur visa. So the entrepreneur visa is very specific. It's a new visa, very recent, and it's specific for startup founders. So there has to be some sort of tech platform, innovative activity, something new to Spain needs to be brought to Spain. This visa goes through ANISA. So first you need to provide a business plan to ANISA, and they'll review it to see if indeed the activity is innovative, if it's bringing something new to Spain, if it's creating jobs in Spain. They'll do a thorough review, and with their approval, you can request the visa. This visa, as I mentioned, is very specific to founders of startups. So please take that into account when thinking about your options, because otherwise it would be the business activity visa. For the entrepreneur visa, it really needs to be thoroughly justified, otherwise ANISA will not approve it. So it needs to be a very strong business plan, and it needs to prove the novelty of what is being brought to Spain. For the business activity visa, it's for all freelancers or business operators. However, when it comes to the freelancer, requesting as a freelancer is a bit more tricky, because what the authorities here are looking for, the immigration authorities want you to prove that there's going to be a real business activity. So if you're going to operate as a freelancer or autonomo, the proof is limited to, as soon as I get the visa, I'll register. And that can be a bit problematic. So a lot of the time, it's better and more straightforward to incorporate a company and operate as an entity in Spain. So what you can provide to the authorities is the notarial deed that's registered. So you can say, I've already incorporated a company. I'm on track to be able to start my activity. I just need the visa. And then additional to that, you need to provide any licenses that would be required for the activity, rental agreements for premises, any additional proof that indeed they will be a real activity. This is very important for it to be approved. Then regarding employee visas, the 2 main options are the highly qualified visa or the intra-company visa. You can also have an additional employee visa. However, the reality of getting it is very, very difficult, because you need to prove that no one else in Spain looking for a job can fill that position, which is practically impossible to prove. So that's why we speak of these 2 options. The highly qualified visa is a very beneficial visa. It has a fast track. When the company is incorporated, you can request this visa for an employee, and within 20 working days, it should be resolved. And it's a straightforward process. However, there are some requirements. They're normally related to the person has to have either proof of having a lot of experience in the role, or alternatively having relevant qualifications for the role. So maybe an MBA, a specific master's, any other titles that can help prove the necessity for that person in the role. And then also there are minimum salaries, which depend a bit on age and also the role. So they can go from around 32,000 up to 55,000 euros a year. Then the intra-company visa is ideal for employees who are going to be relocated from another company within the same group from another country. This visa is thought for, when you're starting out in Spain, you want to send over a few managers, people of trust. So this visa is very handy to be able to do that and to get started. And it's usually granted for around 2 years. It's not thought to be indefinite. So if the long-term plan is for that person to stay, you might want to look at the highly qualified visa because the intra-company visa is a more with a more limited time frame in mind. So we need to keep that, take that into consideration.
Well, that's a lot of information, Madeline, you gave us out there. Thank you very much. We have received a lot of questions. Would you mind maybe going through them? Because
Of
some of them are very easy and quick to answer. Firstly, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your names. Madeline Dorian is asking, the whole time is 6 to 8 weeks, or is just the last part?
It's the whole timeline is 6 to 8 weeks, but as I mentioned, it does highly depend on the NIE process. We do have options to fast track it with partners that we work with, but if you go the traditional consular embassy route, we cannot guarantee that it would stay within those 6 to 8 weeks.
Perfect. Then Diana Parnaluik is asking if you can apply, if you can open a bank account remotely.
So for the bank account, we have different options. We do work sometimes with online banking systems such as Revolut or Wise. However, if you're going to have employees in Spain and you need to pay social security contributions, you need a Spanish bank because they're the only banks that have the agreements to make the payments to social security in Spain. So we have a great partnership with Banco Santander. Usually, traditional Spanish banks don't allow you to open accounts remotely. They require the director to be physically in Spain. However, with Banco Santander, we have a system currently where you can open the bank account either by going to a branch abroad. So, for example, in the UK, there are loads of Santander branches. So, we organize the appointment and you just have to go there and sign the documents without traveling to Spain. Or an alternative would be to sign the opening documents before a notary abroad, but no need for a postal. So, for example, let's say you're in Australia and there's no Santander branch, then you just sign the documents before an Australian notary. The notary just verifies your identity, and then those original documents will need to be sent to the branch in Spain, the Santander branch in Spain. But there's no need for a postal or no need for travel to Spain. So we definitely have that covered as well.
Okay, no, thank you, Madeline. And then Banashev Besadi is asking if we have to deposit a certain amount in the bank account. I can already answer that. You have to either at the beginning of the process, but we recommend doing it at the end of the company formation process. And the minimum share capital is 3,000 euros. But it's a as I always mention, those are assets of the company that you can use for the spending. Then just answering to Kevin, yes, this information, this webinar is being recorded. So if you request it later on, we can send it out to you guys.
And here we have some questions about visas as well.
Pieces as well. Obviously, some of them are pretty specific, and for them, we will have our immigration lawyers apply answering them because one of them is asking us whether they can apply directly for the business activity in Spain, and they have to apply from their country of
Yeah, but
residence.
for this one, Hector, for business activity visa, you do have to apply directly from the consulate or embassy of your place of residence. You can't apply from Spain. It's one of the visas that does not allow for that. So you would have to apply from London in that case. But the good thing is that London embassy, or well, in this case, consulate, sorry, is usually quite decent to work with. So.
And for AL, so it's a long question. If you like, you can send it. We already have your contact. We can talk about it later because there are a lot of implications there, and I don't want to say something that might be misleading. CNS is asking if they can already contract potential clients before the activation of the SL, and if we help them with the legal elements that are specific for Spain. Madeleine.
Sorry, I was just reading the one above.
Yeah, that's the one I'm saying that we will address that later time because there are many variables that that implies the proper answer. But for yes, you can already contract. So you can already contract clients before the activation of the SL, but as soon as you invoice them, then you have to activate the SL, and we help you all the way, all throughout the way. So from the establishment, signing the establishment deed of the notary public to then some ongoing support with accounting and tax compliance.
We actually have quite a few clients who go through the whole incorporation process because they have a client in Spain before incorporation. So this is something quite common. So yeah, there's no problem to start the process before the SL is activated.
Yes. So I'd say since we've got a lot of questions, we will come back to them at the end of the session because we should continue with the one of the the funniest parts, right? So let's talk about what every funder cares about, no taxes and benefits. So Spain has a dual tax system, and the state sets the baseline tax rules like corporate tax, VAT, and personal tax, while autonomous communities also can adjust little deductions or wealth tax. No, but what basically matters for startups is that the corporate tax rate is set at 25% of profit, but certified startups can benefit from a 15% rate for up to 4 years. And that is a major advantage. And the 50% tax rate for up to 4 years, it begins when you start making profit. Because more often than not, for founders, and especially if you're launching a business, the beginning of the process is you will incur losses. So once you start making profits is where the counting will start, and the 15% for the 4 years. And Spain, basically, especially in the last 4 years, has launched a lot of packages, incentives in RD tax credits and helping you recover part of your innovation investment. And especially if you have an idea that is innovative, there are public institutions as the likes of INISA, which can help you even through accessing of financing, and also help you along the way. In Spain, just so you know, you can also defer tax payments. We have an accounting team who will be hands-on advising you how and what actions to take so you have a healthy cash flow. And also in the last years, the Spanish government launched a very flexible and quite interesting package for the stock options, which will help you attract international talent, and also to the when it comes to international people who want to move to Spain. Um, how can we help you from the Lexidy side? And this is where we come in, right? From idea to incorporation, we handle everything, every legal step, so you can focus on what matters the most, on building your business and not on paperwork. We're not just we're a one-stop shop, so anything that your company might need, we can provide it from legal compliance to tax and accounting obligations. And once you're live, we will remain by your side, so you will always enjoy our ongoing support in tax, employment, and compliance. And as I said, we also provide because obviously we focus on our main area is foreign investors. So we also offer guidance on visas and link to foreign investors and how they can benefit from the beneficial tax regimes such as the Beckham law that I have that I read from one of the questions, and also for the stock options that I just mentioned. If you want to hire employees, how you can incentivize them to move over to Spain, other than for the great weather and the good quality of life. You also have tax benefits, and they're related to stock options, right? And basically, our team is designed to well, to help you firstly get the company off the ground, and then to scale it up to once business are going well, and then you're ready to scale up. We can help you find investors and help you in the legal side, structuring your cap table and anything else you might need to to scale up your business. We're receiving also some questions, but before getting deeper into all the questions, we will go through all the frequently asked questions. Madeleine, if you want to start.
Yes. So, these are some frequently asked questions that we get regarding the structure of the company in Spain. So, can foreigners own 100% of an SL? Yes, they can, whether it's an individual, more than one individual, foreign companies, there's no problem. They don't need to be European. And regarding can a foreigner be a director? The same thing goes. So, there's no limit regarding citizenship or residency, whether it's a company or an individual. Then, do I need to come to Spain to incorporate? There's no need. For the power of attorney, Lexidy can deal with the whole process. And even for the bank account, there's no need to come to Spain. Then some questions we get regarding employment and visas. So if I request a business activity visa, can my family join me? Sadly, the business activity visa is one of the few visas that does not include reunification of family members. So in that case, what we usually advise is that you request for family members a non-lucrative visa for them to be able to join you. What is the best way to hire foreign employees? So as we mentioned, we have two main options, which is a highly qualified professional visa or an intra-company visa. The main difference, as I mentioned, that one is going to be a transfer from one company to the other is a new employment. So if the final goal is to remain in Spain long term, then ideally it would be a highly qualified. Or if it's just for a short period to get things started, then an intra-company visa would suffice, and also the employee would maintain their employment relationship. Finally, can I request an entrepreneur visa if I start a business in Spain? You can request it. However, there are certain requirements that must be met. As we discussed, the business plan must prove that it's going to be an innovative project and it's going to bring something new to Spain. So if it does not meet the requirements, the business plan will not be approved, and therefore the visa will not be granted. But you can request it for starting a business.
The seventh one we get here a lot. So can I invoice clients in Spain through a foreign company? Technically, yes, you can invoice clients in Spain through a foreign company. You would need to get an NIF number, and depending on the activity, and there are several variables that might end up that NIF number, that representative office being considered a permanent establishment. So just watch out, and please, if that is the case, just let us know. We know how to handle that type of cases, and eventually, and depending on how much your turnover will be, we will advise you to either go for the permanent establishment or to set up a company. Can I be an employee of my own company? I believe we have got already asked that question by one of you. I believe it's Milos. if you are the sole shareholder and the director, you cannot be considered a regular employee. So you must register as a so-called autónomo societario, which is basically a self-employed of the company, and then either charge your company for the services of being a director. But if you provide services related to the activity, then as for the activity. Can I apply for Spanish startup invest in incentives with a branch? That is a straightforward no. You must have a Spanish legal entity, a subsidiary, to apply for incentives. So if the doubt lies on whether eventually whether to set up a branch and or a subsidiary, and you're seeking you at some point you will seek for incentives or for public grants, please go directly for the subsidiary option, and you'll save a later travel. What is the best city for starting a business? Madrid, Barcelona, or somewhere else? But basically, anyway, it's good, and also it depends. Madrid, we usually recommend it because there is a quite a business friendly ecosystem. Barcelona, however, has a strong international community, and Malaga and Barcelona, they're emerging tech hubs, and obviously they quite often are chosen because of the climate, the sunny climate throughout the year. So, and obviously because the incorporation costs, so the more than the incorporation, the ongoing costs are lower. So, but basically it depends, and it will be more related to where you want to, as a founder, where you want to be based, and where you think you can expand your business, and to the cities itself. I
So
Gemma,
I think, sorry.
no, you were saying
I was just going to say that I think we have a special bonus to share. Basically, we'll be offering a free 30-minute consultation with our legal team. So for any legal needs you have, obviously more specifically towards company formation in Spain, or the necessary visas around it, then we're happy to have a conversation. And I'm sure that there are loads of questions that we would need to answer now.
there are a lot of them, but basically, Madeline, if you because we have went through a lot of topics, so if you have to just in 2 or 3 bullet points to sum up what's the best thing they can, the key takeaways of our presentation, so they just remember that whenever they're setting up a company, other than please, before getting into anything that you are unfamiliar with, just let us know. But please, Madeline.
Yeah, so I'd say that would be one of them probably. Before you get into anything without being sure or without knowing 100%
Yeah.
what it entails, then please let us know and have a consultation with us. We are offering a free 30-minute one. So basically, there's nothing to worry about in that aspect. We can have a quick chat and we can provide any recommendations. Also think properly about the structure, because as we mentioned, the visas depend on percentages, which depend on ownership and directorship and different things like this. So there are ways that we have worked around the legal issues of being a full owner to be able to obtain maybe the faster visa route, or even request the Beckham law. So that would be the second one. Think hard about it and just don't go straight into what seems the easiest way. And the third one is also, if you're operating through a foreign entity, be very careful, because as Hector mentioned, a lot of people are unaware of the permanent establishment figure, and there could be basically a lot of tax to pay and possibly sanctions. So that one is there.
And one else I'd like to add, please, either if you go for Lexidy or for any other law firm, please consider your lawyer as an investment and not as an expense. At the end of the day, we're happy to say that our clients, they save money by contracting our services. So just keep that in mind. And maybe that is out of the scope of the presentation. But Madeline, one thing that we haven't touched upon is the importance of, and I have seen one of the questions here, the importance of registering the trademark before investing into all the merchandise and getting your cool logo on a website. And if you can share one of the examples, one of our clients, the example of one of our clients, that'd be great.
Yeah, I have a few examples. So at Lexidy, we deal with trademark registration as part of our 360-degree service to help incorporate the entity in Spain, bring the business to Spain, and start the new business in Spain. And one thing that we always say is the importance of registering branding at the beginning. Not so much because, then what if you want to change it? That's not the issue. But if you start using a brand that you don't have registered, and then further down the line, you can have legal issues if, for whatever reason, there's a third party who believes that you're basically not complying with their intellectual property rights. So you can have issues there, and that might lead to a whole rebranding process, which leads to additional fees, which can lead to, legal battles and legal issues. And also, if you've bought all of this merchandise with this branding and now it's useless and you need to change it, and and people start to recognize your brand and your company, well, through the brand directly. So, that brand identity is very important, especially nowadays with the social media era. So, we have a few clients who didn't listen to these recommendations and went along with their brand without registering it, and then had issues and had two companies in different countries saying that they couldn't use that brand because it was too similar to their own. And now they're in a standby where their company is sort of stopped. They don't know how to move forward because they have to do a whole rebranding process, which, as we all know, is not fast. So
Mm.
the importance of branding from the start is immense, but also don't worry if it's not a pressure to get the brand right from the start. I mean, you can always do a rebranding further on. You can change it, you can adapt. I mean, even Lexidy, we've just gone through a rebranding and we're 10 years old. So you don't need to get it right from the start, but just get it protected from the start.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. And that client had been granted the entrepreneur visa, so he actually had a thorough business plan. The visa here, the Beckham law. So it's not like he was a beginner, but sometimes he happens. Okay, so let's go through. We've got 15 minutes, so let's go through all. I have noticed that some of you have shared your questions on the webinar chat, and some of you have shared the questions on the Q&A. So what do you think, Madeline? We should. I believe we left it at the. If we plan to open a one person SL, I understand you have to be autonomous at the same time, an employee. I think that was one of the questions that we addressed during the most frequent questions. You have to be autonomous, so you cannot be an employee of your own company. Romy is asking how much should I pay for autonomous application?
We don't deal directly currently with Autonomo application, but we can refer a partner, trusted partner, who assists with all Autonomo applications and also with Autonomo ongoing obligations.
Mhm. Basically, depending on the city, you might pay for the first year if you haven't been autonomous, you haven't carried out the same activity in the last 5 years. The monthly fee would be about 80 euros, depending on the city, and then it goes gradually up to 340 from the second year on. So, but basically, if you want further information, we can put you in contact with our trusted partner. We are asked also by Team Barnes if we handle retiree visas.
Yeah, we handle non-lucrative visas as well. That would be our
Yeah,
immigration team. But yes,
every immigration.
we handle non-lucrative visas.
Yeah, and we just answering to Banashed Bethadi. We have worked in with the embassy in Iran, so that's not an issue in Tehran. I don't know what the situation, unfortunately, is now with the embassy there. or in the past we've worked with them.
Yeah, usually if there's an issue with the embassy directly, they redirect you to a nearby embassy in another country.
But I believe,
The situation for other countries as well.
okay, so if Ed Costello is asking if I already have an NI number and a residence visa, thanks to Lexidy, do I need an additional business to establish, do I need an additional visa to establish a business? You don't, but Madeline, if you will to
Yeah,
answer.
I mean, it depends on the sort of residency visa you have. Generally, you shouldn't if it's a residency and work visa, but we also need to check what sort of work visa because it can be what we call por cuenta propia or por cuenta ajena. So work for yourself, in that case as a business owner, or work for someone else, in that case as an employee. But generally, if it's a residency and work visa, then you shouldn't have a problem.
You're then answering to yourself. Sure, we will send you the webinar recording. So, and thank you for joining us today. Then Everyman, same. We will send you the recording, and also let Cristina Negro that you greeted her. Then Nick is asking us if it's better to go Arraigo versus residence visa. His wife is a Spanish passport holder.
If
Uh,
your wife is a Spanish passport holder, then you can do the
EU certificate.
family member of a EU citizen, which
Yes.
is a lot easier and faster. So, and that would give you full work permit to be able to be a business owner and look into the Beckham law. For the Beckham law, it's important that you have two options, especially since the change in legislation in 2023, that before it was only for employees, but also now you can request it as directors. So if you're going to be a business owner in Spain, it would be more as a director that you would request the Beckham law, but you really need to justify that there's a real business structure behind the company. So it's not only yourself part of it. So just to take that into account as well.
Uh, Madeline Doran is asking us if we do also the legal work related to IP and patent protections, and we just um, answered that before. No, we do all the IP regarding patents. We have a partner who can help you with that part. But regarding in regards to IP, Madeline is our IP specialist, so she's here to help. Ashley is asking us whether she can earn money or under a freelance visa. I assume earn money, she means if you can be an employee.
Under a freelance visa,
I'd say that we would
would
need to
be a digital nomad visa, or would it be?
we would need to if it's a digital nomad visa, you cannot you're gonna be employed by a Spanish entity. But we can, if you would like to elaborate on that question, we can send it over to our immigration lawyer so they can
Yeah,
give
if it's a digital nomad, you normally have a percentage that you can earn from outside of your working relationship, which would be around 20% or something like that. But um, but yeah, if you can clarify, then that would be great.
then Adelaida Braddock is asking us whether she can fundraise in Spain if she chooses to stay incorporated through an C Corp in the States but relocate to Spain. Um, well, I can answer that question. Yes, you can raise funds from Spain or US investors while maintaining your US S corp structure, but what is possible is that Spanish or EU investors may invest in foreign entities, but probably they will be more leaning to invest into Spanish SLs just for regulatory and tax reasons. And if you're a Spanish tax resident, you could be taxed in Spain on your worldwide income. That includes your US S corp. So the many founders they start with their US entity, and then if you see that you can actually fundraise in Spain, then it definitely makes sense to set up the company in Spain eventually. Um, let's see, did you consider to enter into the Spanish into Turkey market? Maybe at some point, but at the minute it hasn't been conveyed to us. But I'd be glad to go there and represent Lexidy in Turkey. Julia is asking us whether the LLC or the branch will lead to permanent residency, Madeline.
So, if you're asking about the business activity visa via the LLC or the branch, then it can lead to permanent residency. So you apply for 1 year and then you can renew. And after 5 years, you can request permanent residency. And then the autónomo does not qualify for Beckham law, right? So before, regarding the issue was with the ownership. So before, the law stated that if you had more than 25% ownership in a limited liability company in Spain, you couldn't request Beckham law. That changed, and now it does not state maximum, sorry, ownership, and says that you can request as a director. So as before, it could only be as an employee, and that's where the limit of 25% came into play. And now they say you can request it as a director. So you can't request Beckham law just as a freelancer. So if you're just registered as an autónomo, but if you're a director of a Spanish company, although you might be registered as an autónomo societario, then there is still that option to look into it.
Yep. If we are two stakeholders, 50% and 50%, can we both be employed? Or again, the autonomous authority is necessary. Yeah, as long as you have the direct control over the company or indirect even, and if and you own of 33%, you have to be registered as autonomous societario or a different social security scheme, but you wouldn't be an employee. Can you switch to autonomous visa and remain under Beckham
It's the
law?
same. So if you're going to operate as an autónomo, then it's not compatible with the Beckham law.
Okay.
It's through a company.
Answering to Madeleine Durin, yes, we do all the legal work for IP. And can family come with you for an entrepreneurial visa? I believe that yes.
Yeah.
For more details, we can put you through with our immigration lawyers. Um, Julia, could you put the link in the chat as I can't click on it? If you mind letting us know what link, we will definitely send you
I understand it would be the meeting link.
the meeting link. We will send you this presentation at the end of the session along with the recording. So, but if you want to, Madeline, you can just type the link in here and they can book you in. CNS is asking us how is it working with Social Security and healthcare insurance in case of an SL. Um, so I assume that you mean as a because Social Security you mean as probably as a director of the company, right? For that you need to be registered as autonomo, and as we were saying before, there are some Social Security contributions you have to pay depending on the city. And the healthcare insurance is also something you have to pay too. But in Spain, healthcare insurance is public, unless you have to apply for your visa. If you have to apply for your visa, you have to take out a private health insurance policy. We will share the 30 minutes link consultation. Then CNS is asking us whether we can provide to professional. Yes, we can provide with some. We will also share, Madeline, maybe our startup fuel link, so they can also have access to professional network and also and some other information about what the company obligations are. With the answering Jim Barnes, we do deal with retiree visas through that's more part of our immigration team, and we can put you through with them. Not us directly, but that's something we deal. All directed visa is also only via consulate. If that is a business activity visa, then yes. And the entrepreneur visa, Madeline, I would have.
Yeah, the entrepreneur visa can be in Spain or via consulate. So it's a bit faster if applied from Spain.
Yep. And let's move very quickly to our Q&Ls. Suman Bolina is asking us, so her background is I finished an MBA from El EA Madrid in December, and she got a 2-year job seeker visa. She was told that if she wished to apply for a self-employment visa, she will have to wait for a minimum of 1 year, January 2026, before she can apply. I assume she means this overcome the employment situation. That's what you said that before, Madeline, that you have to uh, they have to prove that non-Spanish citizen can fill that position. But for um, more precise answer, maybe we can just zoom out and we can put you in contact with our immigration lawyers.
I mean, normally when you want to switch from a student visa to a business activity visa, it needs to be within the 60 days prior to the visa expiring or the 90 days after. For specifically from student visa.
Yep. And someone is also asking if to apply for the business activity visa, if she needs to provide rental agreements for the space.
It's not so much rental agreements, it's that the immigration authorities want to see that your activity is going to be real and that you're actively taking the necessary steps to be able to render the activity as soon as you have the visa. So, for example, let's say you want to open I'm not sure, a restaurant in Spain, then you've already secured the premises. The premises has the license necessary. You might have some contracts in place with suppliers or something like that. But for example, if your activity doesn't need a premises, then there's no need for rental agreement. It's just that they need to see proof that you're going to really have a real business activity, and it's just not a pathway to immigration into Spain.
And we will just wrap up with the last question, Madeleine. Macquarie is asking whether she can set up a business in Spain before applying for the entrepreneur visa. Yes, you can apply. In fact, you have to apply for you have to set up the company in Spain before applying for the entrepreneur visa. Oh, no, sorry, I messed it up with the business activity. You can apply for the business activity visa for
You
the.
can you
Yeah.
can apply after setting up, but it's not necessary to set up first. You can set up after, which is the difference also with the business activity visa.
And then the last question is from Julia. Just to clarify, we created an LLC. The directors would get a permanent visa, or how many days can you be in Spain? We want to move to Spain and was told by creating a company, we can apply for permanent residency. So I'm from Guatemala, which the permanent resident will be faster.
So this again depends. It's not so much getting a visa to be a director of a Spanish company. It also depends on who would be the owners behind them. So if you're not going to have any shareholding, then we could look at an employee visa where you would act as a director of a Spanish company. So either, as we mentioned, in this case, it would be the highly qualified. However, if you are going to have significant shareholding, you would be owners. Okay, so in that case, it would be the business activity visa, and you would request from Guatemala, if that's where you currently reside as well, then you would request from the consulate or embassy of your place of residence. And yeah, so that would be the process. You would incorporate first, then request the visa. And until the visa is granted, you can remain in Spain, well, the typical 90 days within a 180-day time frame.
Sorry, Peter, I missed your question. He was asking if he's under a nomad visa from December, and he doesn't understand what he has to do with the taxes. He's got a company in the States. He's operating. He owns a company. I don't know if you own the company in Spain or I know the operates out of the States. So, and
We've
you're
got
not doing any business in Spain. In Spain, as we mentioned before, if you spend here 180 days, you're considered a tax resident, and hence you're deemed to be taxed on your worldwide income. Now, depending on your the companies and the double tax treaty agreements with the company you're running, that you're operating with. One tax will be applicable or not. But if you want to, you reside in, I know this, Julia. If you want to, we can get you a consultation with our tax lawyer so you can dig deeper into that question. Thank you, Peter. Well, Martin, I say that'd be it. Thank you everyone for joining us today, and we'll be sharing the presentation later on, and anything else you need, as I said, we'll be here, and yeah, we'll be in touch.